Potpourri version 3.0 Investigations. The past week was busy. Paul Manafort was convicted on 8 criminal charges. Michael Cohen pled guilty to multiple felony charges. Michael Cohen also accused the president of directing him to commit felonies. Alan Weisselberg, the longtime CFO of the Trump Organization, was granted immunity in exchange for cooperation with prosecutors. He knows where all the bodies are buried. David Pecker, CEO of the media empire that publishes the supermarket trash rag, The National Enquirer, was granted immunity in exchange for his cooperation with prosecutors. He knows where the hush money went. Of course, there was more, but as the pundits are saying, the walls are closing in on Donald Trump. One result of that is the ever-expanding list of Trump's outrageous tweets designed to distract us from the Justice Department investigations into criminal wrongdoing of the Trump Organization, his foundation, his campaign, and his administration. See the Art of the Distractions box in this post for a short list of the Trumpian stupid stuff from just the last 7 days. For now, begin to brace yourself for what likely will become multiple constitutional crises. This is going to get really ugly before things start to get better, and perversely, it may be the world's greatest political theater. Meanwhile, get active. Mark Election Day, November 6 on your calendar. Decide which 2 of your friends you'll bring with you to the polls. Here's why you'll do that. Roughly 125 million votes were cast for president in 2016. 102 million registered voters stayed home. That brought us Donald Trump and this spineless Congress. Friends don't let friends fail to vote. Final note on this topic. As of this writing, we still haven't heard a word from Republican legislators about any of the criminality close to the president that's been uncovered by federal investigators. The R's insist on remaining jellyfish. Nukes. It's likely you were shocked over Trump's sometimes veiled and sometimes blatant nuclear threats toward North Korea and Iran, but surprisingly, there's good news attached to his rantings. Last week, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine held a public workshop entitled Exploring Medical and Public Health Preparedness for a Nuclear Incident. There's a link in the written post to the article. The good news is that the people in charge of dealing with a nuclear incident are investigating our preparedness and perhaps recommending changes for the better. The bad news is that Trump's rhetoric has made the investigation necessary. The Democrats' problem. Chris Buskirk curated the New York Times Opinion Today last week and offered a George Orwell view of democratic socialists, writing, quote, George Orwell, himself a democratic socialist, neatly described the political dilemma faced by the Sanders crowd. Orwell wrote, the inability of mankind to imagine happiness except in the form of relief, either from effort or pain, presents socialists with a serious problem. It seems to me that Buskirk is quite wrong. Bernie Sanders is very clear about a democratic socialist future. His dilemma, as Buskirk labels it, is the inability to bring a majority of voters to his view. The real dilemma of most Democrats is that they can't seem to find a coherent message with 2 hands and a flashlight. Add to that inability a few more, like being solely reactionary to circumstances and rarely proactive, communicating in the most needlessly complex way that leaves people befuddled, a refusal to focus on a unifying message, and the seeming inability to speak with blue-collar Americans where they're at. More painful yet, and as a placeholder for all wimpy Democrat ways, we watched the debate where Hillary refused to tell Trump to stop stalking her and to sit down and shut up. Democrats have a way of creating their own worst obstacles, often through lack of assertiveness. Perhaps our new generation of candidates will do better at this. Coherent message. We all have our key issue, and I know yours is important. I believe, though, that one overrides all others because everything you hold dear will disappear if this big kahuna issue isn't resolved: keeping our democracy. That's why Robert Mueller is so important to the United States right now and why his work must go all the way to completion. After we put the bad guys in prison, we can tackle money and politics next, because that is what informs and distorts your key issue. And that tsunami of special interest money is helping to destroy our democracy. Save our democracy. That's the coherent message. Let's focus on that. Edu Bang Bang. Education Secretary Betsy I've never been to a public school DeVos is weighing using money intended to drive academic enrichment for students to buy guns for teachers. Yes, really. I'm Jack Altshuler.